My goodness, you're early. Unfortunately for you, we're always ready to talk about WoW, right, Nick?
How can they be early when it's scheduled every week, Jordan?
But that was the. Anyway, welcome back to the Valley of Spirits, your go to podcast for all things World of Warcraft. I'm Jordan, and I'm here with my awesome co host, Nick.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in again. We've got a jam-packed episode for you today filled with updates from our adventures in Azeroth and beyond.
That's right. The past week has been a mix of chill vibes and some intense gameplay. For me, it was mostly about the back-end work with our podcast and a bit of rating on my warrior and mage. I've got some interesting insights to share on how my mage is outperforming my warrior in raid lately.
I've been busy too, wrapping up a heroic Major Sil raid and pushing my mythic keys. I've maxed out my rogue and Panda remix and started a new mage character. Plus, we did finally dip our toes into classic Cata. It's been a pretty wild week for us, Jordan.
Yes, and not only that, there's been an enormous week of game updates, patch notes, and hotfixes to discuss, including some exciting changes, well, mostly to Panda Remix and Cataclysm. Don't forget, we'll be diving into also the upcoming beta for the War Within expansion, and I'm pretty excited to talk about that, actually.
Oh, yeah. And we do have a lot to cover, especially with the Panda remix. So let's dive right in. But before we do, if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure to follow us on our social media, share your thoughts. We love hearing from you.
Absolutely. And stick around till the end, because we've got some fun, maybe even controversial topics to discuss in our Tavern Talk section. Some things like our favorite and least favorite WoW characters, so
It's
a
gonna
lot
be
to
a
talk
fun
about
one.
there, yeah.
All right, let's get started with our week in WoW. Jordan, why don't you kick us things off?
So my week has been mostly filled with some back-end podcast work, some things like where we're storing stuff, what we use for notes, things like that. We'll get a little bit more into the more platforms and the more ways we have to interact with you at the end. In the actual game, I did the LFR and the normal on my baby girl, my warrior. I talked a little bit about it already, played around on the mage, and I found that it's parsing better than my warrior and raid content, which is kind of an interesting feeling. It's nice that my mage's stats are finally starting to line up, but it means my warrior needs some work, and like my warrior's my baby. And so I'm still running verse enchants on it, so there's some work to be done on the warrior. The evoker did not raid this week. She wanted a week off after the heroic last week, and she did some other things than PvE this week. I didn't do any dungeons at all, not one. I didn't touch a 0, a mythic plus, a heroic, none of that. But I did a surprisingly high amount of player versus player. My warrior, I pretty much just did the weeklies on, right? Did the skirmies and the crappy blitz. I'm sorry, I mean the blitzes are great. I finally got a gladiator staff on my mage from doing the weeklies on my mage, the same weeklies. But I did most of my PvP on my wizard lizard, which is an evoker for those that are newer listening. I call it my lizard wizard or my wizard lizard. But she's definitely a little bit tired. We not only did our weeklies, but we also got her 3rd and 4th gladiator pieces from grinding some solo shuffle. I achieved 1850 this week. I'm pretty excited next week to try and get something like 2,000 maybe. I also want to try and talk Nick into doing some 2s.
What do you want me to play on that, though?
It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. I got a couple of things I can bring. And also, if anyone listening wants to play some 2s or 3s, make sure you hit us up on the Facebook page or the Twitter for sure. So I feel for my shaman. I'll talk a little bit about Panda Remix because there's going to be a lot of updates involving it. But I played him like nonstop for the first 2 weeks of the Panda. And I didn't even touch him this last week. I've actually been pretty busy this week. I went to like a Major League Baseball game, which was pretty cool, but I'm getting off topic. Brother Nick, what did you get up to this week?
Thanks, Jordan. I actually had a very busy week in Azeroth. Didn't get the classic, though, sadly. But for raiding, I wrapped up a heroic Major Sil just before recording. Did a normal prior to that, so today I've done 2 raids back-to-back, trying for that legendary weapon. Sadly, nothing dropped, so
of course not.
Blizzard doesn't like me.
No, Blizzard doesn't like me either.
They don't like anybody. That drop rate is
No, I know. Dude, I have so many rolls on my evoker, my warrior. Anyway.
I'm still trying to get invincible, so, you know.
Yeah.
As for my mythic this week, I did complete a few +2s, both in time, and the highest one I've done so far is a +3 in time as well. Some upper movement, but not as much as I was aiming for. Hopefully next week provides a better opportunity. I did finally max out my rogue in the Panda remix. I did go through some dungeons. I need to get started on the raids and completing the content there, because I haven't done any of that. Even when MOP was current, I did not do anything. Did start another character though after maxing out my rogue, and it's currently sitting at 26 because I don't have a mage at 70. So I figured why not just rack one through for funsies.
No, mage is pretty cool. It's pretty punishing, but it's really rewarding when you nail it off. I've been loving my mage.
Yeah, it's been really fun so far. I have enjoyed it. Granted, I'm only 26, but it still is getting. I got to figure out how to set it up with the ELV UI. That's really where I get flustered with characters. Is I need to feel it out and then set it up so I know where stuff's at. Like my paladin, I have it set beautifully to me though. So like if you
Right.
hopped on it, you'd be like, "The fuck is this?"
Well, you've talked in our past episodes before how ranged is something that you normally you're not super comfortable with or you don't like a bunch. And so mage is like super punishing range, long cast times.
Well,
like
yeah, exactly. Well, and it's having like I think we've talked about it a lot. I don't know if it's either been on the podcast or off. Mage and a lot of these casters, the problem is the fact that it's knowing where to move. Whereas I'm just so used to being a melee, I have instacast. I can just hop right out of stuff. Good to go, easy as pie. Like no big deal. But anyway, we did start Cataclysm. Got to level 5. I believe you're running a warrior, Jordan, and I'm doing a warlock. I know I'm doing the warlock, but I think you got a warrior, right?
I do have a warrior. I also have a character I've been working on there, which is a mage. You know, I've been on this mage kick.
Yeah.
And my mage is at 26 now, so
I know your mage kick is going so hard. You're outdoing your regular warrior.
I know. Don't remind me. Don't tell them. They can't know that. I mean warrior. I swear, wink.
You can't know. So that wraps it up for my week. There's not a ton there, but did get some good stuff done in Azeroth this week.
Not the busiest week, but definitely lots to cover, so I guess we should probably get into it. I did warn everyone last week we were going to have lots of patch notes. And so, Nick, why don't we get started?
Yeah, we can get started. We do have a lot of patch notes. It is an ungodly amount. And so these hot fixes are covering the 28th, 29th, and the 30th. For retail quests, Verdissa did not realize she was sitting at an important location for the quest. Forget her not. And has been moved a few feet away. I don't know why that would have happened in the first place when they have all the longitude, latitudes for everything. Quest givers for Renowned Quest are again offering players the continued Waygate exploration quest. Apparently they either stopped or were broken. Moving into the Panda remix, hot fixes for this week. For those who did not stare at frogs on their screen for the first 3 days after launch, you're not able to receive quests at level 50, 60, and 70 that provide a decent amount of bronze. For those who did stare at frogs, your cloak has been adjusted to be at the amount that a very engaged player could reasonably achieve. Looks like they brought the banhammer, or at least the nerf hammer. Adjustments to endgame content now provide a smoother transition to normal and heroic scenarios, dungeons, and raids. Blizzard has also adjusted difficulty to be more smooth transition between 60 and 70. Players who have completed the Pearlfin Jinyu questline can now bring lesser charms of good fortune to Elder Luzhan for additional reputation. Players who also completed Forest Hosen questline can do the same thing, but bring their lesser charms of good fortune to Chief Kaka? Is it really
Kaka?
Is it really Kaka?
Good fortune to Chief Kaka for additional reputation. That's how it goes.
Another word is another language it is. Anyway, the Cloak of Potential has had another bug squashed. The cap on the maximum stats has been removed. Shadow Pan Assault reputation earned per boss kill is increased from 1,000 from the previous 300. This amount is available every day.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a great move.
No, yeah, moving for the reps. I actually, that's some of the complaints we've heard.
Oh yeah,
thus far is the rep grind.
Some days to play this, you should have an insane. The reputation gain should not be locked to where it was or is in retail.
Right, and you shouldn't be expected to log in every 92, all 92 of the days to get the reps done.
Exactly. It's just
anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving forward. Elder Great Turtles and Ancient Spine Claws have migrated back to the Timeless Shore, allowing players to just kill time there.
Something I do want to touch on is they're taking the frog cloak buffs out. Like they're retroactively, like I'll read this again. For those who did stare at frogs, your cloak has been adjusted to be at the amount that a very engaged player could reasonably achieve.
It's pretty crazy.
They pulled it out. I can't believe how mad they are about that.
Oh, they had to look at how someone was playing it in their logs and go back and just be like, nah, not happening. I'm curious if they're going to do that to the Hosen as well.
I
'Cause
think it's
that's
just
also
a
the new
blanket on
farming thing.
top.
What do
They're
you mean?
like, Blizzard is like, this is the amount you could reasonably achieve on your cloak. If you had more, sorry.
Yeah, that could have been it too.
And then they talk about adjustments to the in-game content, provide a smoother transition between normal, heroic, blah, 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 between 60 and 70. If during your Panda experience you felt like the difficulty went literally sky high between 60 and 70, you were right, they fixed that.
Yeah.
That's what that was about.
Which is it's good that they did that, honestly. For the gem adjustments, hot fixes that we have, Arcanist's Edge absorb amount that can be converted into damage has been doubled. Fever health amounts that can be converted into damage has also been doubled. Righteous Frenzy damage dealt to targets increased to 2% per second. Previously it was 1%, and it can no longer be cast on non-party members. Searing Light collected healing points increased to 10%. Slay cannot critically strike anymore. Word of Salvation no longer applies to heal absorb. It has been reworked so that the caster's heals are duplicated as an absorb shield but no other source of healing. That closes out the gem adjustments for the remix. The last few changes left are that the Thunder Dark Animus encounter has had a damage and attack speed reduction from the Anima Golems casting acceleration link that has been reduced to 100%. Previously was 250. In a Brewing Storm, Viktung Skirmisher's Sting now reduced healing by 60%. Prior was 90%. There was also a corrected error that unintentionally added additional enemy health for highly geared players against heroic raid bosses.
So most of these gem adjustments is just balancing. There were some that were really, really good, and some that were really not good. And you'll notice as you switch them in and out a significant difference between the ones that have stuns or the ones that deal damage. Or this is to be expected. They put literally 40 gazillion gems in the game. There's going to be some that are unbalanced. I expected some of this. I think it's cool that they're really making an attempt to see where they can get these. That makes me think they have bigger plans for this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do. I don't think that this or Plunderstorm are a one-time event. I think there's some work going on in long term.
And so covering the gems and things like that, I did want to go over an actual Blizzard post regarding what direction they're trying to take this remix Mists of Pandaria. And so they say, as we approach the end of the second week of WoW Remix Mists of Pandaria, we'd like to take a moment to talk about some very recent updates we've made and look forward to in the next 11 weeks. The event will be made available. So they've made several changes to some issues we've seen, especially around max level content, such as heroic scenarios, heroic dungeons, and raids. Our goal here is to address the sudden increase in enemy power at level 70 for group content and make the transition to higher difficulty raids smoother for players. Heroic scenario, heroic dungeons, and normal raids increase in power more slowly between levels 60 and 70. When first reaching level 70, players will continue to be challenged by max level content, but that increase in difficulty should be noticeably lessened. Heroic and mythic raids have been adjusted so that there is a smoother transition between them. Before these changes, there was a stark difference in the power of each raid. Now, players should experience a smoother transition that feels more like natural progression instead of a huge step. I think this is huge.
Yeah.
There's only 90 days to get through all these raids. It should be a smoother experience. They should be able to flex all of these things into exactly where they felt they should be. And something to keep in mind here is this is supposed to feel like you're super powerful. Like if you walked into this thinking that this is going to be some of the hardest mythic raid stuff that I'm going to be able to accomplish, I get to do mythic Siege of Orgrimmar just like the guys back in MoP. No. This is supposed to be a super blowed up experience where you have tons of abilities that you don't normally have and you do all kinds of things you couldn't normally do in the retail World of Warcraft. And so they want to find a balance between guys that are staring at frogs and guys that are actually trying out their trinkets and gems and things like that.
Or killing Hosen, one of the two.
So moving on, I think we have a little bit more. Oh yeah, we have a bunch more patch notes.
Yeah, we do. We haven't even gotten to the class changes yet. Moving into Cataclysm Classic, there was an issue that was fixed causing Glubtalk to summon ads in normal Deadmines. Another issue was fixed with the guild tracking profession achievements, and they should now be tracking as expected. Players were also being disconnected while aiming and shooting the siege tank during Battlezone quests in Oldham. This has been fixed. Happy sieging. When Nitro boosts malfunction in a raid encounter, they'll now also grant increased movement speed as well as damage to their user. I don't know which one was not happening. Sadly, now there's damage to it. The greater inscription shoulder enchants available at a reputation level of Exalted with Therzan are now bind down account. So that wraps it up for the hot fixes so far. We still got to talk about class changes. Jordan, did you want to open up with our PvP?
I will. So, player versus player. They changed an item. The Seal of Diurna's Chosen will deal 50% reduced damage in PvP combat. Havoc Demon Hunter. All damage reduced by 4% in PvP combat. Woo woo! Sorry, excuse me. I'm not biased. Demonic Wards now reduces magic damage taken by 5% in PvP combat. It was 10%. Balanced Druid. So, a developer's note, we recently removed the PvP nerf for Frenzied Regeneration, primarily to help feral druids, but Balanced Druids got a windfall and became a little too powerful with this change. We're pulling back on this buff specifically for Balanced Druid only, so that their survivability is more in line with everyone else. Frenzied Regeneration heals 5% health every second, was 8% for Balanced Druid. I don't think that's that bad. Balance of All Things will now give the correct amount of critical strike chance in PvP combat when 2 talent points are invested to it. So it's a little bit of a buff too. Marksmanship Hunter. Sniper Shot, the PvP talent, range increase was reduced to 30% from 40%. Sniper Shot PvP talent damage is no longer affected by Mastery Snipers training. So you don't get to stack the PvP talent like you do in PvE anymore, and then you don't get as much of a range increase. I think that's pretty cool. Holy Paladin. Flash of Light healing increased to 12% in PvP combat. Judgment damage increased by 30% in PvP combat. Hammer of Wrath damage increased by 50% in PvP combat. Holy Shock damage increased by 20% in PvP combat. Glimmer of Light damage decreased by 25% in PvP combat. Okay.
I like all of those except for that last one.
I'll talk about it a little bit at the end, but they're definitely buffing healer damage.
Yes. Oh, it's good though.
Across Priest, Mental Agility now reduces mana cost of Mass Dispel, Purify, and Purify Disease by 25% in PvP combat. Was 50%. Holy Priest, Holy Fire's direct damage is now reduced by 20% in PvP combat. The cooldown of Chastise is now reduced by 1 second per talent point from Voice of Harmony in PvP combat. Was 2 seconds. So some nerfs coming out there for Holy. Across Priest in general in PvP.
Yeah.
Subtlety Rogue, Rupture damage now increased by 15% in PvP combat. Backstab damage was now increased by 45% in PvP combat, was 30%. Gloomblade damage is now increased. Gloomblade damage, is now increased by 45% in PvP combat, was 30%.
I'm liking those two because I'm bringing that rogue up, and I might just move her in to do PvP as well. But we'll see. That's got 80 some days before she's out of Panda.
I know, you got to be slimy to play a rogue in PvP. And rogue players out there, you know what I mean. Most of this is, I think, just bringing healers in to deal as much damage as like the Mistweaver or the Fistweaver Monk and the Preservation Evoker, so they're more relevant. A lot of this is good.
Sure.
They nerfed priests a bit, which I think is interesting. I didn't think they were a problem, but I guess Blizzard did.
Yeah, I'm wondering what made that decision so much. Unless it's, well, I'm forgetting how quick you can cast Holy Fire. It's been forever since I was on my Holy Priest.
And to be honest with you, who knows what's going on up in Blizzard right now? They got a lot to worry about.
Yeah, lore specifically, but we'll talk about that later.
So moving forward, I think we have some class changes still to talk about. Some PvE.
We got some PvE to go through. Coming June 4th, Preservation Evoker. All healing increased by 6%. It will not apply to your PvP combat. Resto Druid. Moonfire now costs 0.3% mana, was 1.2%. For Survival Hunter, the 4-set focus cost reduction increased to 20. It was 10. Also, the 4-set damage bonus increased to 80%. It was 50. For Holy Paladin, Word of Glory increased by 15%. It does not affect your PvP combat. Light of Dawn healing is increased by 20%. Loving that, because that means I'm going to be more effective in my mythics. Shamans, you overall have a Brimming with Life, now increases maximum health by 10%. It was 8%. For Enhancement Shaman, You have a ton of increases. Chain of Lightning increased by 10%. Flame Shock increased by 10%. Frost Shock increased by 10%. Fire Nova increased by 10%. Crash Lightning damage also increased by 10%. Primordial Wave's additional Lightning Bolt now deals 175% of normal damage. It was 150. Does not apply to PvP combat. And lastly, Warlock. Fear now costs 4% of base mana. It was 5%. And Demonic Gateway now costs 10% of base mana. It was 20%. So you get a little cost savings in the overall rotation. And that brings it all for our class changes.
So across the board, this is what I'm talking about our victory lap in Season 4. There's buffs everywhere. There's nothing really to complain about here. I do think it's interesting how they excluded some things from PvP, and they didn't with others. Because when we were reading the enhancement changes, for example, this Chain Lightning, the Flame Shock, all that, did not say not applied to PvP. Which leads me to believe it was applied to PvP. So some buffs all around there. Pretty exciting.
Well, same thing with the fear cost and Demonic Gateway as well.
Yeah,
Just
it's scary. It's scary. But Warlocks are trouble. You always focus the Warlock, right?
Yes. Jordan, did you want to get us going on the coming week?
So I'm going to start strong with the June trading post because I am super excited. There's a goofy summer theme for it. I immediately bought the bikini set called the Sunny Tropical Swimwear for those looking for a bikini. Wink. And then I proceeded to put it on my male Tauren.
Yeah, because
absolutely hilarious.
See it on.
It's so goofy. Some other notable things. There's a Goblin Wave Shredder. That is probably I imagine, what most people are going to be picking up from this trading post. It's pretty cool. You can use it inside. It's pretty cool.
But you can use it inside?
You can.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, I'm really picking it up now.
I will be getting the Sunny Tropical Beachwear as well. This is a more masculine looking, as opposed to a bikini. This is a more, you have a straw hat and, a opened up shirt on. More of a masculine looking beachwear. So I'll be picking that up as well. These are kind of the only things that really stood out to me this month. I already have a couple of the mugs that some people will be going after, like the Blazing Fellfire Armaments, for example. I have those already. But those do look pretty cool if you're tanking. So definitely take a look at what's going on in the trading post.
I have heard, too, that a lot of the prices have increased, or it seems like they have, from a lot of the people that we've talked to that have touched it, because I haven't gone into the trading post yet. So I'm curious on that, though.
Yeah, I think my opinion's biased because they've had so many things in the shop that I've wanted to buy for month after month after month now.
I mean,
I'm out of tender. I'm completely dry.
Broke. See, I normally only pick up like maybe one or two things because I look at, do I really want it? Yeah, it's good. Leave it. Or I save it for the next month if I want it, but don't want to buy it yet.
Well, they had like 2 or 3 pink months in a row, and me and
broke
pink.
Now. Yep,
I am broke. But we'll move on from the trading post, and we'll move into something exciting. There's an official launch date for the War Within beta.
Yes.
So we're going to read some of the things they said about it verbatim, and then we'll go over it a little bit. The World of Warcraft War Within beta test begins on June 5th. Woo! Over the course of this test, we'll be inviting community veterans, press, fan sites, friends, and family to check out the upcoming expansion and give us feedback. Players who purchase or who upgrade to the Epic Edition of War Within will also gain immediate access to the beta and gain a minimum 3-day early access to the expansion. Players selected to participate will receive an email invitation directing them to download the game client directly from the Battle.net desktop app. Players who purchase the Epic Edition may also receive email notifications. As always, please be aware of phishing attempts. If you are unsure whether your invitation is legitimate, please log into your Battle.net account to verify that there is a War Within beta license attached under your game accounts. Players who have opted in can selected to be testers, and invitations will go out regularly throughout the test. If selected to participate in the beta test, your Battle.net account will already be flagged for access. Players who upgrade to the Epic Edition of the War Within will also gain immediate access to the beta. They said that twice. So some things we want to go over. This is just some things you want to make sure you have your ducks in a row before you hop into a beta. You want to make sure that you are understanding that this is not the completed version of the game. They can take items away from you. They can completely change your class overnight. That your account might just not work some days. This is not retail. I want you to remember that going in. This is not a completed version of the game. So some things to make sure you're ready for this. Make sure your graphics drivers are up to date. Sounds like a meme, but no, seriously. They're going to be utilizing new graphic attempts, and NVIDIA and AMD will publish releases based on that.
Yep.
Run the Battle.net desktop app. It may need to update itself if you haven't run it recently. If you don't have the app installed, go get it. Once Battle.net is installed and updated, select World of Warcraft from the list of games. In the game version drop-down menu above the play button, choose the War Within, listed under Development, option, and then click Install. Allow the installation to complete, create a new test character, or you can use the character copy to import your existing Dragonflight character.
Which
Pretty
I'm
cool.
excited about that. Like
That's actually really
I might
cool.
bring over one of mine, but with it being a beta, I don't know if it's going to screw up my retail. I don't think it would if they just kind
It won't. It's carbon copy, and you lose
beautiful.
you lose everything when the beta dies. So when they cut the beta down, everything you've done in this beta does not apply to retail. That's why that 3 days early access is something they're mentioning and talking about, and a reason to, become a whale. If you have issues installing and operating the War Within beta, please check our common technical issues and solutions to begin troubleshooting. So the truth is, if you have a real graphics problem, you do want to do an in-game bug report, submit your graphics driver, things like that. That'll help Blizzard get in contact with AMD or whatever to get the fix done. So what will be available in the beta? There will be new systems, the complete leveling experience, zones, dungeons, delves, warbands, and the new playable Earthen will all be available in beta. Raid testing will come at a later time.
I believe probably a couple episodes is going to be heavy on this when we start playing the beta.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much is going on this week that isn't like holidays or events or like the fixes part of our podcast is probably the least exciting part this week. So first, Dark Moon Fair this week. Lots of cool stuff to be got from there. You can get all kinds of cosmetics and mounts and accessories. Definitely take a good look at Dark Moon Fair. It comes back around, though. Don't feel like this is a need to play if you're grinding something on Cataclysm Classic. Dark Moon Fair does come back, but you do get some cool cosmetics from it.
Well, it's one of those ones that's really reoccurring throughout the year, too.
Yeah, it's their filler holiday, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's still fun to go to. And,
It is. I like
a couple things. Yeah, I always go check it out for a bit and then go back to doing whatever the hell I was doing.
And they're cool, like little mini games and cute stuff. You go to on the top of the Ferris wheel. It's cute. So the affixes for Mythic Plus keys this week is Tyrannical, Afflicted, and Bolstering. So Tyrannical means big boss. The boss fights are going to be hard. They're going to last a lot longer. It's going to be much more critical knowing boss mechanics. But Trash is going to be a little bit easier to kill. Afflicted is the periodically souls will appear, and you will have to utilize a cleanse ability to cleanse them, well, essentially cleanse them of your sins. So if you're a warrior or a DK, you might want to put them in the closet if you do a lot of keys this week. But other than that, get your cleanses ready. And then there's Bolstering. When any non-boss enemy dies, its death cry empowers nearby allies, increasing their maximum health and damage by 20%. So this is a mixed bag. At least it's not fortified bolstering, where the trash is stronger and does more damage, and then when the trash dies, it gets stronger and does more damage and has more health. It definitely isn't the worst combination, but you're going to have to be careful on trash a little bit too. So if you remember, the affixes only apply where you get the first one at +2, so it would be Tyrannical. You get the first one and the second one at +6, which is Tyrannical and Afflicted. And then at 10 and above, you get all three, Tyrannical, Afflicted, and Bolstering. So moving on, I think we had even more character updates, didn't we?
Well, not
Nick, you want to bring us
updates, more just PvE, PvP overall updates.
Oh, so these are like straight up concept changes for classes a little bit. Oh, no, and some bug fixes too.
Yeah,
so yeah, bring us into the PvP ones first. Yeah.
So for Priest, Thought Steal can no longer be canceled and no longer causes the casting priest to learn a spell they already know. For example, if you're a Shadow Priest and you're stealing Vampire Touch from another Shadow Priest, you're not going to learn the Vampire Touch. You already have it. Per the devs, this was to fix an issue causing priests to lose access to existing abilities after casting Thought Steal. For Evoker, an issue was resolved, causing the Dispel effect from Scorching Flames to fail on targets near the edge of Fire Breath. Also, the Twin Peaks Battleground is currently unavailable, while some issues are being addressed. Jordan, would you like to take us through the PvE updates that we got going on this week?
Yeah. So, Death Knight, Desecration will now be removed by Bladestorm. Druid, Leader of the Pack tooltip now properly provides the correct percentage of healing received when a melee critical strike happens in a cat and bear form. This was 4%. It was showing 5. Hunter. Primate pets have learned to stay while casting Bad Manner ability. This will no longer interrupt themselves while casting.
Right?
That's a goofy bug. Furious Howl no longer stacks with other percent crit change increases such as Leader of the Pack and Rampage. Oh, well. No, that's why Beast Mastery was blowing up. Everything was stacking. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Restoration Shaman. The expiration of your healing stream totem will no longer cancel the Season 4 2-piece bonus. This was specifically happening when there was 2 or more healing totems active. Yeah, it's almost like punishing you for being good at your class. Sorry. I'm glad they fixed that.
Rip.
Affliction Warlock. Drain Life was accidentally draining your mana when Soul Rod is active. This has been corrected to only harm your target. Protection Warrior. Battle-Scarred Veteran has been updated. When a damage event reduces your health below 30%, the portion of that damage event that would apply to the last 30% of your health is also reduced by 80%. Yep. So, Nick, you have like a finance background. Can you break this down for us a little bit?
I mean, numbers are great. Yeah, so basically all this is saying is that, let's say, for instance, you are at 55% health and you're going to take a hit, a single attack that's going to drop you to 25% if you took that 100% damage. Once you'll take that 100% up to 30% of your health. Once that event reaches 30% of your health, that damage no longer continues at 100%, but 80%. So instead of going from 55% health to 25% health, you'll probably end up at like 55 to 27, 28% health as a rough estimate. That's not, I did not do a math formula, but that's it, just to explain it because that wording is extremely confusing and that's verbatim from Blizzard.
So, long story short, battle-scarred veteran slightly buffed.
Yeah, a bit.
So the Cataclysm class changes. Death Knights will now gain their benefit of improved blood presence. There was a bug at times not allowing this benefit. Priest. An unintended issue where the spellcasting haste from Time Warp and Primal Rage was able to stack with Power Infusion spellcasting haste has been corrected. Dang, that'd be sweet. Rogue. No, not another 14-year-old bug. Yeah, Nick definitely wrote these notes.
I like to spice it up a bit.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
We like your spice. We like it.
Thank you.
But rather, Blind can no longer trigger poisons while applied to the rogue's ranged weapon. So for Warlocks, the Nemesis talent from Wrath of the Lich King Classic was still lingering around. Since it was not in Cataclysm, it has been removed. Remember, it's a feature, not a bug.
Sometimes Blizzard needs to remember that we have features in games, not bugs.
All right, so I think that's everything. I didn't miss something, right? I think we got it.
We've gone through the notes.
So it is time for Tavern Talk.
Tavern Talk.
All right, so take a drink, of course. That's tradition for Tavern Talk.
Especially of the spirit variety.
So, Nick, I'll ask you first. Why do you kick us off in the Tavern Talk? What do you want to talk about?
Well, something I've noticed that a lot of people have been kind of angry about on the social medias is that the Horde does not have a war chief. And I'm also extremely annoyed about it, that we have a council.
Right,
Jordan,
practically the Alliance.
Yeah, God. I mean, think about it. We've lost. So after losing Sylvanas, we have the Desolate Council in the Forsaken, and we now have the Council as the Horde. So not only does the major faction have a council, but also a major race inside that faction has a council. That's a huge, lore-wise, I think it's going to be an issue. Unless what all they're wanting to do is just save the space for when they can just be like, oh, cool, we're bored. Horde's going to be the villain again. Bye-bye. What do you think?
I just think the Horde has traditionally had some very firm-handed leadership. Whether good, whether bad. I always fight for my war chief. Whether it's Garrosh, whether it's Vol'jin, whether it's Sylvanas. I am for the Horde. No, Sylvanas did some work. Sylvanas did some work.
Well, and yeah, I mean, we could go into a whole dive on each one too, but no, I'm with you. We've had some good and bad ones, but they've always been very firm.
And we have Thrall being an elemental shaman doing his thing.
For the
being
third,
all
fourth time.
healing Azeroth.
What was it that I saw earlier? It was someone said he has elemental dysfunction for like the third time.
ED. And the truth of it is, he's our only Horde representative. Where's Bane?
Yeah.
Right? Where are our other homies that...
Well, and even then, they are our Horde representatives, but they are put in such a milquetoast, dog water, middle of the road bullshit lore spot that I feel like they can't evolve them. Like they're not for the Horde, they're for Azeroth, so to speak, I guess is how to put it.
Right, because they do... In Dragonflight, they did a bunch of, like, unifying, to where we're working together to help the Dragonflights and things like that. And I think that is a good move. But Alliance has leaders you can like or you can hate. They have Malfurion, they have Tyrande, they have Jaina, they have...
They get a lot of lore built into those characters, even when we're doing this style of world building, where it's together.
They have Anduin, as much as... You know, I don't like to... I think Anduin's a little baby boy, but... He's too nice. He's too nice. The world is tough. The World of Warcraft, there will be some murder. It has to happen.
Well, and that's the thing, is it's called the World of Warcraft, not the World of Funcraft.
Well, it should be fun to play, but it should be fun to read, too.
Sorry, there was probably something better I could have put in there, but it would have been really bad. But you get my point. It's the fact that there's supposed to be conflict going on, whether it's an internal conflict or an external conflict. Something has to be going on. And I'm getting annoyed at the lore of seeming like the Horde just sits on the sidelines all the time until they need a villain. And then we're put as the big bad trope all the time. And it's like, when do we get our time in the sun, so to speak, as the good guys a bit?
Well, I guess this is
some good shit.
Well, this is a testament to this. I almost would prefer we got a crazy mad war chief that... Because following Garrosh's orders with Nazgrim in the beginning of Pandaria, even though you know it's stupid and you're poisoning this land and tearing it, bringing hatred and all kinds of things that summon Shahs to this land, you're doing it because your war chief ordered you to.
Oh, yeah.
And so that, as a Horde player, that's become a part of me, right? Like, I am for the Horde, for my war chief.
100%.
I don't have one right now. I don't have to agree with every decision he makes. That's part of the cool part of it.
Well, and that's
being
like,
a Horde
you
player.
You and I are huge Sylvanas fans. I mean, she's tattooed on my arm. But we didn't agree with everything she did. Like, my favorite war chief is Sylvanas. Like, that's it. But I didn't agree with everything she did. She had a breaking point. I'm like, yeah, we're getting a little, like, off the script here.
We're getting a little mad.
Really for the Horde. Yeah.
We're going a little crazy here, aren't we?
Horde, more going towards selfishness, and that's where I'm like, meh. But
right, read Christy Golden Sylvanas. It
so
doctors
good.
some of that up. Very good book.
Very well done. No, she wrote that one beautifully. But no, I want us to have flip the script though, right? What if instead of us getting our time in the sun, so to speak, why not have the Alliance do something fucking horrible? Like, I don't know, murder a bunch of people in Dalaran. Oh wait, they did that. Jaina Proudmoore.
Yeah, Jaina. We have killed her in a raid. Well, we've
No, we didn't
knocked her out. We hit her with the back end of our sword at the last second. She lived with 0.1% health.
I want my raid on Storm.
Let's lock Jaina on the maw. Come on.
Let's do it. No, because
then I'll be all right. All right, then that's fine. Then I can forever love my Sylvanas goddess as Jaina rots in the... You know, as millions of other people also have their queen rot.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather have Jaina Proudmoore in the Maw or Khadgar? Or Chromie?
Oh, Chromie. Krenormu. See you later, Krenormu. Going right into the Maw, which I do want to bring that up a little bit, but yeah, I just think ultimately what we're getting at here is the Horde needs some better lore representation.
Oh, yeah.
I think Warcraft... As you can see from the backlash of this, we're not the only ones saying this.
No, we're not.
As you can see from the backlash, we need some Horde representation. We need a reason to be Horde.
And not just milk toast. Oh God, look, I'm trying to talk to the elements for the third time. It's like they want us to forget Shadowlands happened, but then repeat Shadowlands.
Because think about being a new player right now. Like, how are you going to convince your buddy? We're all going to use old stuff. We're going to talk about Rise of the Horde, what the orcs overcame to get to Azeroth.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how the Tauren had tons of battles with the Centaur and Mulgore, right? We're not talking about modern Horde stuff at all, are we?
No.
I mean, some of the Sylvanas reign was cool. We put a good dent in the Alliance. We reminded them we are the Horde, thanks to Sylvanas.
Like that to me felt like it was not when I say a step back, I don't mean like it took the Horde backwards. I mean it was us bringing the old style of the Horde forward, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like we went against the Alliance for the first time in how long? It was like classic back. It was awesome. I loved it. Logging into BFA was great.
I really liked BFA, especially Ashran, and they had a lot of good PvP, a lot of good world PvP opportunities in there.
Oh yeah.
It was really exciting. So I guess I'll move us on to our next topic. Do you think the WoW Remix Pandaria is getting too much focus compared to the rest of the versions of the game?
I don't think that it's getting too much focus right now, because if we are set to be done here in Season 4 in, a couple weeks, and they're kind of on the coast right now and have enough people that are monitoring it to support it, they can take staff and put them somewhere else, because if they're going to use this remix stuff in the future, they need to tweak it now, which is what they might be doing, so that way they can use it later and then not have as much tweaking, or know where issues are at going forward. Because if this is the first time they've launched something like this, so there's a learning curve even for Blizzard to do this kind of stuff, right? And we have to give them that grace period. So I don't know if there's too much going on, or point is, I don't know if they're hitting that learning curve or not yet. If they are still on it, cool. If they're over it and they're just focusing on it instead of focusing on Season 4, then there's an issue. What about you? I mean, do you think they're focusing too much on it?
Well, just reading the patch notes, I think they're pretty equally focused. Retail is definitely on the back burner. There's no joke here. They're trying to tune the Awakened raids to where we can all have a good time and help our fellow Dragonflights and get our reps and not get our legendaries.
Improve the drop rate, please.
Right. Well, how many of these damn increase my chance of getting Furalass am I gonna get?
Well,
how many of them now?
It's only a 0.01% increase. No, I'm just kidding.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be a decrease in chance to get it. I'm convinced they programmed it wrong.
Well, I'm curious on what is worse, the drop rate for Invincible or the drop rate for this legendary?
I mean, Invincible. No joke, Invincible, you'll probably spend the rest of your life grinding and still not have a chance at it.
Woo!
Yeah. But if you get it, though, buy a lottery ticket.
That day.
So ultimately, I really don't think... I think they have a lot of good focus right now. They're really taking care of the Cataclysm Classic community, which is a lot more of us than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't poo-poo it, but we definitely didn't think it was going to be what it's becoming. Like, a lot of people are playing this Cataclysm Classic.
Mm-hmm. I know. I want to get us more into it because it's... I love the fact that they were bringing it forward. The Classic, they walked it forward through the expansions. I am sad that Wrath is dead, because I really like that one, but Cat is also fun, and I want to get rolling with it with you, so we can go do some classic raids and whatnot.
Yeah, like I said, I'm dipping for Dragon Soul. I'm out. Later, I ain't ever touching that raid again.
I thought it was your favorite.
Nope. I believe...
Was your favorite?
I believe I was almost ready to declare this. Well, I guess I'll say it. This is Tavern Talk hot takes, right? I'm pretty sure Dragon Soul is my least favorite raid instance in the entire video game. I'm pretty sure.
What pushes it that far?
I don't even want to. We would have to do a whole episode on it. I have a couple of words.
We can do a special episode.
I don't think anybody wants to hear me bitch about Dragon Soul for an hour.
Nobody said it had to be an hour.
But I'll just sum it up. Spine of Deathwing. Like, they thought that was a good idea.
That was annoying as shit.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm never doing it again.
Getting some PTSD flashback.
Yeah, and I raided in Shadowlands, so there was some really, really frustrating mechanics in Shadowlands, but balancing everybody on the back of a dragon or else it rolls over, and then you gotta specifically roll it over at specific times, then you gotta Nah, I'm out. I'm out. That's just one fight. That's just one fight of that raid. Ugh. So yeah, I won't be seeing that one again. But everything else is pretty exciting. I really like the Bastion of Twilight is actually one of my more liked raids.
Which one? Where's that from?
That's Cataclysm. It's the first raid of the expansion in Cataclysm.
Oh.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it'd be cool to experience it with you, too. We should probably try to get up there.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. I want to do, because I didn't really raid back then. And I want to get in and do it with you.
There were some cool ideas. Yeah. They were trying to be modern. You remember Cataclysm, they blew up the world to redo it.
Yeah,
they're trying
to
change.
A great idea.
It was. I see why they did it.
Long term, though.
It hurts now.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think they're doing it again. Well, I guess we'll get a little bit into my tinfoil hat theory.
Ooh, yes, please. Put on the tinfoil hat. Regale us.
So at the end we have a 3 expansion trio coming up, a trilogy essentially, where they're going to be uncovering the inside of Azeroth. We're going to be going pretty deep into the way the Void has penetrated Azeroth.
All of this is sounding explicit.
Well, yeah, I guess that's not what I meant. I guess some context for this is we do know there is a tainted world soul inside of Azeroth, essentially a baby titan. So Azeroth is a titan egg, and it's been tainted by Void.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it also tainted by Sargeras slamming the sword in?
Well, that didn't help. That sure didn't help the world soul very much. Ultimately, where I think they're trying to go with this story is we're going to figure out exactly how tainted the world soul is. We're going to be able to figure out if there's any opportunities to purify it or if there's any opportunity we have to save this. And then World of Warcraft has a fork. They have a very big fork they do where they take a look at their video game and they're on a wireframe engine that is almost 20 years old here soon. And they could just blow Azeroth up and start WoW 2. All right, I know, put your pitchforks and shit away. I don't work for Blizzard, okay? I am not a production staff of Blizzard. There will be pitchforks if they do this.
Oh, yeah.
Just think about your life, right? All those mounts you got, all that gone. Now you have to sign into a new game. Like, that's going to be wild. But part of it is we really have to look at ourselves, guys. We've been playing this game for 20 years. They're going to need to fundamentally rebuild it at some point. And so it looks like they're setting up an opportunity to do this. They're going to blow up World of Warcraft, put it on a last patch, make the classic thing what it is, keep rerunning their stuff that they did in WoW. You're still going to be able to have your WoW sub, I imagine. You're still going to be able to play the old games, go into your classic and RP, play the last patch of Dragonflight, do whatever classic they're doing. That, I'm pretty sure, will still exist in this environment. As they've created this universe where you can have things like Plunderstorm and Mop Remix and Cataclysm Classic, and that doesn't mean this stuff dies.
So are you kind of getting to the point? I'm not trying to speed you up or anything. I'm just trying to get an understanding of what you're stating. That they're gonna put it on life support and then go make WoW 2.
I think so. I'm not saying Guild Wars or Final Fantasy are like mechanically better or programmed necessarily better in any way.
Well, we're like you said, we're sitting on a 20-year-old engine.
Yeah, there are some things that it's time. Like there's only so much you can paste higher res textures.
Yeah.
Only so many more times you can redo a race, right?
I will say if they go anywhere close to how Guild Wars 2 or ESO are, when it's like you get 5 spells and that's it. Nah, I'm fucking out. Like I'm done.
No, yeah, the nuances.
If you do that
huge.
crap, I'll be done because I like the ability that I have as a single class to have so many buttons. Like God, there's somebody on Twitter or X or whatnot that had complained that Death Knight had too many spells, and I tweeted back at him and I was like, yeah, why don't you just go get like a Razor Naga and then break it down into 3 sections? Because then you have 36 spells, and all you have to do is add in a shift click or a control click. Bam, you're done.
Well, to be honest with you, Shift, Control, and Alt will get you out of a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah. I don't like to use the Alt, though. My thumb... I don't know, because I keep it on my spacebar. Yeah, I can like bring it in. Because I do have Alt on the Holy Paladin, but I don't. It's saved for like very specific stuff.
Well, this brings us into essentially the button bloat debate,
Yeah.
right? How many buttons do I need that I'm never going to press? How often do you use polymorph as a mage, right? Like, well, PvP's a different story. But
it depends on what you're playing. Depends on how you...
Yeah, I guess I just refuted my own argument there, didn't I?
Great, conversation's over.
And so the truth of WoW is part of what I like, and I'm sure a lot of the players like, is you have a enormous choice of abilities.
Yeah.
And if you want to be creative, you have ways to use these abilities nobody would have thought of. You know, like rescuing somebody who's standing in the wrong spot on Farak or something. Or you can do, like, these, having this many creative and exciting abilities that you might never use is an opportunity for you to be creative and more exceptional in a weird way.
Yep.
And I don't want Blizzard to get rid of that. And
God,
I
no.
would agree with you if WoW was to go to a locked UI format where you only get to do something like Diablo, 4 or 5 abilities, right?
Well, and now I will say, like, I don't remember. Like, I've played Guild Wars. I don't remember it that much. I know in ESO, you can get more than like 5 overall abilities, but you can only use 5 at a time. And one of them is taken up by your ultimate or whatever the hell.
Right,
it is.
so
you really only
that's
get
what I mean
4.
by the Diablo approach.
Oh, okay.
You can
I
take
haven't
and
played
level up
Diablo.
as many abilities as you want, but you can only put so many on your bar and use them. So I would be out. I would be out if they got rid of a bunch of our abilities. That's part of what makes this game what it is, in my opinion.
Honestly, too, why would you have even a talent tree at that point? Like, it's gone.
Like, there's a balance. You don't want any ability in the game to have absolutely no purpose. And Blizzard has made abilities that have no purpose. Like in my warrior, for example, I have Slam.
Yeah.
In my talent book, I literally never use it. Right?
Well, my paladin doesn't use I forget the one where you throw the shield. Like, I have it on Ret Pally, but I don't carry a shield as Ret Pally.
So I guess let me restructure my argument against this. Why would you have useless abilities? And so my argument for this is because you can change the kits. One day I need to use Slam on my Fury Warrior, right? Because they changed how the Mythic Plus build works, or all of a sudden the raid and the Mythic build isn't exactly the same, so I don't just AoE for free.
Right.
So it allows them to be really creative and fun and change classes and tweak things and...
Well, and also you may not use Slam for, part of a season or even a full season. But who knows that,
or for a
the
full
next raid
expansion.
comes out. Yeah, or for a whole expansion. But who knows, in the War Within, maybe it becomes a more useful spell. Because they went, holy shit, we didn't use Slam at all. Like, we're going to make sure that, there's a mechanic for that. Or they fix it to be an interrupt or something. I don't know.
Right, well, I think we beat this to death enough. We like abilities. We like being able to do different things that are...
Yeah.
So why don't we move on? Nick did a lot of work on our front end this week, a lot of work with our socials. Do you want to do a little bit of a plug for that for us real quick?
Yep, so the main 2 socials that we're on right now are Twitter or X, whichever one you want to call it. There you can find us at VOS_POD or pod. And we're also on Facebook. You can find our page as the Valley of Spirits Podcast. We are in a couple groups on Facebook, and I've been posting pretty regularly and commenting on stuff on Twitter or X. We are in the World of Warcraft community. I haven't really posted in that. But yeah, hit us up on, I think, Jordan, you want to have some specific stuff?
Yeah, we're looking to do really, we are using this as a little bit of a guild recruiting kind of deal a little bit. So we do want to see if there's anybody who wants to do any like PvP 2s or 3s, or if you need a normal run that week, definitely hit us up with a comment. We'll get a run together. We want to build a community here. We want to play with our listeners. We want feedback. We want you guys to be able to feel comfortable telling us we suck or we're wrong or we've screwed up on reading something. We want this to be a true community where we all build each other.
Yes.
And so I'm pretty excited. The social, I'm not very good at the social side of it, so Nick has been doing a much better job at connecting us with other WoW players. So hopefully if this means anything to you guys,
It's been a bit of
I'm
a slow
reaching out
update.
here come hit us up on our socials, and I'd be very excited to play some stuff with you.
Yeah. The hope, like George said, the hope is to build a community that is either playing the game on our server or not on our server. So if you are on the server or you want to join the guild, feel free. It's also fine if you don't want to. We can always try to find a way to do it cross server if we're lucky enough on an LFR.
Well, the Horde Alliance split, but we do normals and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
We can do cross faction content and all kinds of stuff. Just let us know. We'll make it happen. Start commenting for sure. So I did want to tease this a little bit, play around. Nick, you do have a lore episode coming up in the next couple of weeks or so, right?
Yes, we do. It is about 12 to 13 pages long already. So that's why it's going to be probably a week or two more. I want to go through it, reread it, make sure the lore is correct, as well as that I have everything I want to put in there and maybe omit some more stuff, because what I'm trying to do is give a in-depth understanding of the paladin class from start to current time, and that's going to involve not only the class, how it starts, who started it, and its history, but also some more notable characters and little short segments of what key things have happened with them inside the paladin class itself. So it's a pretty good. It's going to wrap up to be good. I'm aiming for it to be very, what's the word I want? Immersive.
Oh, and engaging too.
And engaging.
Yeah.
I mean, did you want me to read a little bit of it?
Well, yeah. Give us a little sample. Let's go.
Okay, let me. So I'll read a bit of the opening for you. Welcome, our fellow adventurers, to another episode of the Valley of Spirits. Today, we find ourselves in a place where the light shines its brightest, the majestic Cathedral of Light, in the heart of Stormwind City. Just beyond the towering stone pillars, the choir practices their hymns, their voices weaving through the air like a gentle holy mist, their melodies faintly reaching us here in the cathedral's library, where the scent of old parchment and leather-bound tomes fill the air. Here, it is the heaven of knowledge. We've gathered to delve into the rich tapestry of Azeroth's history. Though I hail from the Horde, today I walk these sacred halls of the Alliance. An uneasy feeling lingers at the edge of my thoughts, a slimy reminder of the border crossings and tensions that persist between our factions. Yet it is here that we must come to understand the origins of the Paladin, a class born of faith, honor, and sacrifice. From the earliest days of the Knights of the Silver Hand to the modern champions of light, the Paladin story is one of noble beginnings and steadfast resolve. So that's a bit of a teaser for you.
Woo! Great work. Yeah, it sounds nice.
It's going to be good. And like I said, I'm trying to go for more like getting you into the cathedral, feeling like you're reading a part of the history of it, and hopefully putting some chills down your spine in spots, and really just kind of getting that, when you listen to it, just blanking out and being like, I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, there's a lot paladins don't talk about, isn't there?
It's just a lot of history, and actually, there's been one or two things where I didn't realize that it loops actually into the paladins, and even back to RTS Warcraft. So there's some really in-depth stuff here, and like I've gone from the start of like Warcraft 1 all the way to World of Warcraft is where we're gonna go. So we'll be all the way up to Dragonflight.
Pretty intense. You'll be definitely caught up on your paladin lore. I'm excited. I'm not even spoiling myself. When I joined to record with him, I definitely want it to be kind of blind. I want my reactions to be. I do know a bit about it already, but definitely not as much as Nick does now.
It's been a lot. I've read so much.
So I'm pretty excited. I'm excited for it. So we did promise we were going to do some controversial least favorite and favorite characters. We did promise we were going to talk about that. So Nick, do you want to start us off? Who's your favorite character in World of Warcraft?
I kind of spoiled that a little bit ago for our previous conversation. But
no, I really have no idea who it might be.
Oh, Hold on. Right. I know you have no idea. It's Sylvanas Windrunner. She is thebomb.com, in my opinion. Not only for the fact of that I have enjoyed her story in World of Warcraft, but even her story in the RTS games. She's had such a tremendous build up, and like she gets the rug pulled out from under her and builds herself back up over and over. And I said too, is she had that break from being, I would almost argue, one of the better war chiefs, and then going completely nuts, and that's where I was kind of like, meh, not doing so good right now. But I think she's still top tier. Jordan, what's your favorite character?
My favorite. Well, normally I would name it Mommy Sylvanas, but that wouldn't be very conducive.
No.
So
Does
my
not-
second
does
is
not feel
definitely a
good
toss up. Between Karen and Bane Bloodhoof. I've always been. They're such sweet beings that just super get tortured and get the worst things happen to them. They ally with the orcs and they turn on them, and they've had so many terrible things happen to the Tauren over the years. But they still have hope. They still trust people. They still believe that people can change. And so that makes me so funny that they're horde and villains and nasty and cow people, but they're really the sweetest people. And at the leadership is, well, Bane currently. I don't want to get too deep into how Karen died because it's conflicting. I did talk about how we serve our war chief and things like that.
Yes.
But our war chief at the time, Garrosh, dueled Bane and won a dirty duel. He poisoned his blade. Well, Malcroc poisoned his blade.
Yeah.
And killed Karn. My brother Karn.
Corn?
Brother Korn. And I still have an internal battle every day about Hellscream. I really did not like that he did that. It was pretty unhonorable, not very orcish.
No, it's not. I mean, shit, that was even like, what was it with Gul'dan and his mom?
Yeah, Gul'dan's a nasty motherfucker, though.
Yeah, but what his Mak'gura with the Frostwolf leader? Why can't I remember his name?
A Durotan?
Yeah.
Yeah, Durotan, the leader of the...
Ended up using the Fel and like drained him.
Yeah, that was... Oh, Durotan. Oh.
Yeah.
Pour one out for brother Durotan.
Although he did give us a war chief.
That's true. So I do want to honorable mention Vol'jin. Vol'jin was, I do believe, the most controlled and calm and collected leader the Horde has had in a long time. And so, of course, they had to kill him.
Just so that we could be the villains again, because we had too much going for us at that time.
Right, yeah. So Vol'jin's a very good honorable mention. Very, very good troll. Very impressed with him as well.
You're on track to being probably maybe the good guys? Well, that sucks. See you later. Here's
Yeah,
Sylvanas.
dead. Kill him. Have N'Zoth kill him.
Yeah.
Shit. And so, yeah, it took us 4 years to learn that the whole reason why Sylvanas was war chief was that while Vol'jin was dying, the old god N'Zoth whispered it. That's Shadowlands. It's all crap.
It doesn't exist, remember. Forget that the accident happened.
No, I know, you're right. The Sylvanas book, that's right.
Sylvanas' book is his proper canon.
So let's go least favorite character. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
I'll go first. I will start with the one, the only, Archronormu, Brother Chromie. Brother sister Chromie. I guess here's what I'll do for my argument. Ready?
I'm tired of listening to her in World of Warcraft. Done.
An endless army? We don't have time for this.
Oh my god.
Oh no, Morchi. That means the Horde and Alliance are fighting. This could be any point in time. All right, I rest my case.
So happy that soon we are done with this dungeon, and that I can, like, every time I hear it and we have to do that dungeon, I just want to slam my head to my keyboard.
Oh no, Morchi. That means
Oh no.
I know. Give me more. I can't even remember his name. I can never remember his name, but my bark is worse than my bite.
That's funny. That's good. I like that.
Let's get to the root of the issue.
I love the dad jokes in it.
Oh, I know. That's my favorite boss.
And Starkheart Thicket?
Yeah, DHT. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's my least favorite. You want to touch on yours a little bit?
Yeah, it's Jaina Proudmoore.
Yeah, that's a runner-up for me. That's for sure.
And
this is the soap opera. Wow.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's the soap opera. Wow, with in all the books it's nothing more than like, oh, I looked into his eyes and Calicos just made me whoosh down my nether regions. Like, I don't want to listen to it. Go put it somewhere else. Go write the softcore porn
Yeah, the
somewhere
Dawn
else.
of the Aspects book.
Yeah,
Calicos finds an artifact, and they're like, "Oh, my love for you, Calicos." I'm like, "Shut up! What happened to Galakron? What are you?
What
What
happened
is
to the real
this?"
story?
Yeah, what? Alexstrasza's a proto Drake. What's she doing? Is she okay? I don't need to know about
What's
this.
Mommy Straza doing?
Mommy Straza.
But
Wherefore
no,
art thou, Mommy Straza?
so it's stuff like that in the lore that annoys the hell out of me. But it's also where it's this, like for instance, okay, yes, the mana bomb happened in Theramore. We know that happened. She was already upset with the Horde. But what happened when it came to the protection of Theramore and using Dalaran as military aid already makes her point about wanting to kill all the Sun Reavers null and void because it was used prior for military aid for the Alliance, and then one person goes through and lets Garrosh steal the bell, and it's like, really? Then you're gonna go think you can murder everybody? Oh, and then you don't step down from your position until they're voted back in just because you voted against it? Am I supposed to think you're sorry? No, we should take her, we should banish her from the Alliance, and she should be a nobody and wander the land. Kind of the same way they did to Tyrion. Because that man kept his honor when he met Eotrig.
Hold up. You didn't think how many? You forgetting about something? How many Jaina buffs they sell every year?
Oh my God! Don't even.
You're forgetting.
Sorry, she sells on the store, but when it comes to lore, it's not like you're gonna make good money if you write good lore.
The second best-selling woman in Warcraft and the Maw.
Yeah, I know. They should have put the first one, so that way the second could be the first, because then, lady, Mommy Sylvanas would be around.
Mommy Sylvanas, yeah.
But my point is that she'll do dumb things, and like those actions that she did, attacking the Sun Reavers and all of that, actually had greater consequences and pushed them more into the arms of the Horde, and because the Blood Elves at that time were actually looking to rejoin the Alliance, because that's all during what is it? The second expansion.
BC, Burning Crusade.
Yeah. So it's all in Burning Crusade first expansion. Sorry. Yeah. So that's all in Burning Crusade. But then when you come around to the Fourth War, so her murdering Blood Elves in Dalaran pushes them to the Horde and upset. God, what the hell was the king's name before Anduin? Why can't I remember his dad's name?
Varian Rin.
Varian, thank you. It's like I know it was Rin, but I didn't want to say Rin. So it pissed off Varian. Like there's even in Warcraft, there's a little blurb about that too. That she screwed
Varian
up
was I guess forgive me for a better term, but Varian was kind of a bigot.
Oh no, he was. But he was actually like trying to get them to come in. Like the Sindori were talking through the dwarves on joining the Alliance. She murders a bunch of them, and they're like, "Nah, we're out. We're gonna go join the Horde." But it also pushed them farther into in the Fourth War with Sylvanas, because those actions were so deep entrenched into them because of what she did. And what does she do? Oh, I'm just gonna resign my position.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me?
Don't even get into how she's levied the Kirin Tor, even though they're a neutral body.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on that.
And she's supposed to be this somewhat neutral character. And you're right, she's levied the Kirin Tor to be completely Alliance. It's such bullshit.
Right. She was one of the ones that didn't want Forsaken in the Kirin Tor. She didn't trust him at first.
Yeah,
I thought it was crazy.
Well, that's because the Alliance just think that everybody in the Horde's just a shitty race.
Yeah, well, history is doomed to repeat itself, it seems.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I'm hoping that we can get some actual Horde. I mean, they're never going to have her have consequences for this action, because now I think she just sits around and like leads Theramore as the Lord Admiral. Like, oh, we shifted from one high position to another. Awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Seems like we seem to be pretty lined up on lore. Any Alliance folk out there that really love Jaina, feel free to write us a paragraph. We will definitely read it, research it, and then maybe even talk about it if it's a good point.
Honestly, yeah. And I'm not saying, well, I mean, it's open for debate because it's just lore. Like, we will form our own opinions on it.
Jaina has done a lot, especially for the humans. She's done a lot.
But
I mean, not for Lordaeron, but
yeah, like, and And I will say, even if we have listeners that are Alliance players, just because we play Horde does not mean that we're just going to poo-poo on the Alliance all the time. It's just how much she's just my least favorite character. I really like Tyrion and Uther. Those are 2 Alliance guys, actually from the Paladins. And
Right. I like Greymane a lot. He's
Yeah.
a scared boy that's been through a lot.
I understand why he doesn't like the undead, but I don't know.
Well,
Like,
now they do. Remember, you did the quest line with Kalia Minethel. Now we're best of friends or some shit.
right, yeah, because fucking
We helped them get back to
I
their
don't like
home.
Kalia Menethil. Like,
No.
at all.
She's soft. She doesn't strike me as a Forsaken, that's for sure.
No, she wants, and that's where I
Let
don't
Lillian
like.
Voss lead us. Shit.
Yes. Oh my God,
That
Lillian would
that bitch has seen
she
some
would
shit.
be a great successor to
Yeah.
Sylvanas.
Yeah, she's
This desolate council with a Menethil. A Menethil's leading us? Are you kidding me? The sister to the guy who made
she
us who we
sits on
are.
the council, but it sure seems like they want her to lead us. It's like I've never seen such a pristine Forsaken before.
Yeah.
Well,
Barely anything.
I mean, there's one that looks better, but
She's in the maw.
she's in the maw.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Now
I'll
we
wait
can
forever
walk
for you,
on board.
Sylvanas. I'll wait forever for you to get out of jail.
Same season.
Well, I think we've gone off the rails far enough. That's the end of our tavern talk. Nick, do you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, sure can. This has been another episode of the Valley of Spirits with your hosts and favorite Horde players, Jordan and Nick. You can find us in Valdrakken on the Mal'Ganis server, and you can find our guild by searching for The Electric Boogaloo. You can also find us on Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever the kids are calling it these days, by searching for the Valley of Spirits podcast. And as always, for the Horde.
For the Horde.